Welcome to Gospel Greetings number 108. Last week we continued discussing the armor of God and how to activate this armor through prayer from Ephesians 6:18 and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. We said that by appropriating God's power, you can overcome all the attacks of the evil one, and that prayer is the key to activating the other pieces of armor. This week we will be continuing on the full armor of God and speaking about our enemy from Ephesians 6:11 and 12. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This is revealing specific scripture, and it points to two common errors in identifying our enemy. The first error is seeing that our enemy is flesh and blood. And this means people. I don't know about you, but this is exactly what I do. I often see my enemy as an underhanded competitor who bends the rules, or someone who takes cash to get their business ahead, or I see my enemy as a corrupt political leader like Putin, or even the government who's against us with all these rules and regulations. I often incorrectly see my enemy as flesh and blood, people that oppose us. Yet this scripture tells us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood. It's against the devil, his schemes, and his forces of evil. The second great error is kind of the opposite of this. It's seeing some weird guy in red tights as our enemy. We have put in our minds this view of a comical-looking fellow in red tights with a pitchfork, like the little red man on one shoulder telling you to eat the chocolate cake, with the angel on the other telling you not to. This view is something that no one can take seriously, and this comical figure really couldn't be farther from how the Bible depicts Satan. How does the Bible depict Satan? The true picture is that Satan is a powerful adversary. He's the universe's public enemy number one, the chief opponent of God and his people, and the leader of uncounted demonic forces. Jesus says he's been a murderer from the beginning, and he's engaged in an all-out battle against the forces of good in the universe. The Bible calls him the devil, Satan, or the evil one. Paul tells us to put on this armor so that we can stand firm. James tells Christians that if we resist the devil, he will flee from us. Peter tells us to be aware and alert because he's always on the prowl. The devil has an organized force of evil minions, including demonic rulers, authorities, dark world powers, and spiritual forces of evil. The Bible describes him as powerful, subtle, sneaky, lying, and accusing. But do not fear. Paul also gives a way to overcome. He prays it earlier in Ephesians 1. This prayer says that we have God's incomparably great power, that same power that God exerted when he raised Christ from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms, where? Far above all rule, authority, power, and dominion, and every name that can be given. You see, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. And this fact guarantees our victory against this adversary. More on this next week. Bless you, brothers.